Your success in anything in life is a direct reflection of your peer group. Do you have past reference friends or future reference friends? Are your friends always talking about the past and the good old days? Or are they talking about what's to come in the future? All right, so here on the Middle-Aged and Miserable podcast, we're all about breaking out from being stuck and achieving success and purpose in our life. So today we're going to talk about your peers and how they relate to your success.
And if our viewers like this content, I would ask that they hit that subscribe button so they never miss another episode. And when we say peer group, talking about peer groups, what we mean by peer groups, Chris, is the people that we hang around with the most, the people that influence us. It's those people in our inner circle that have the most influence in our lives, and those people that we act as a sounding board. So whenever we've got decisions to make or questions, we'll ask those people.
Yeah, because the effect of your peer group in your life cannot be overestimated. Here's a quote from Ed Milet. I think it's Ed Milet. Your success in anything in life is a direct reflection of your peer group.
Absolutely.
You know, an example of that is you probably heard that hanging around with successful people elevates your success. But also, your lifestyle is a direct reflection of the people you hang around with.
Right.
You know, imagine if you hang around with a bunch of people that sit around in a house all day smoking weed.
You're going to smoke weed.
What do you think you're going to be doing? So the people in your peer group influence you and ultimately contribute significantly to where you end up in life. And here's another quote. Here's a Tony Robbins quote. Mm-hmm. The quality of your life is a direct reflection of the expectations of your peer group.
Yeah, that's a big one, the expectations. Most people aren't doing this. Most people, in fact, I seem to say that a lot, actually. Most people aren't really paying a conscious attention to who they hang around with the most, to their peer group. Often it's the people you went to school with, or often it's your coworkers as well. There's nothing really wrong with that. It's comfortable, it's convenient. And, none of us, ourselves included to a certain extent, never really wanted to change that at all. It's a hard thing to change.
Yeah. And, here's a side note. Many middle-aged men are sad and lonely. They're busy with their wife, their kids, their family. They've long stopped seeing their college buddies regularly, and their only friends are their wives, friends, husbands. And with those people, they only have surface level relationships. Like, did you see the game last night? Yeah.
And that leaves them lonely to a large extent. And that reminds me that for so many reasons that we're going to touch on in this podcast, the biggest thing I find about having a good peer group is the fellowship. Men need good friends.
Yeah. And so, yeah, they definitely do. And a bad peer group can really hold you back. Mm-hmm. And it's in all sorts of terms, in terms of lifestyle, mindset, and success. And this is not malicious, but just the reality is that the people around you are the way they are because of their own limiting beliefs and fears. Mm-hmm. And, this holds you back by association.
Yeah. I mean, we've been there, ask yourself do you hang around with people that complain all the time? And, it's kind of nice to vent occasionally, but just occasionally, because if you end up making that your way of life, you're not focusing on the right things. You're focusing too much on the wrong things, and you're not actually seeing things that are right because you're not focusing on them. And that's going to result in you finding more things wrong as well. If you're a complainer hanging around with complainers, and often they'll just look for reasons to justify where they're stuck, where they are in life. It's almost as if they seem to enjoy struggling in life because they've got plenty of stuff to complain about. And the sad thing is, if you hang around with people that complain, you're going to become a complainer.
Yeah, and it's similar with positive thinkers. Mm-hmm. It's similar to complaining. Other people in your peer group, positive thinkers and go-getters, or are they negative thinkers wanting to maintain the status quo?
Yeah, you feel good hanging around positive people.
Yeah. Here's a side note. There's this thing called past and future reference friends.
What do you mean?
So you got to ask yourself, do you have past reference friends or future reference friends? Are your friends always talking about the past and the good old days? Or are they talking about what's to come in the future and excited about what's to come?
I love that. I love that. You got a good story about that you keep telling us about.
Yeah, because I go back to England sometimes and I see some people that I went to school with, not college, but, like high school.
Mm-hmm.
And I met someone in the pub and...
Years later, right?
Years later, yeah. This was recently, relatively recently. And this guy's a nice guy, but, he's in a kind of mundane job. And he was just talking about the good old days at school. And
that's all he had.
Well, I said to him, like, I hated school. My life's just got better and better. And he's like, oh, I wish I could be back there now. I loved it. He said it was the best time of my life. I just found there's something sad about that.
Yeah, there is. There's another aspect. If you decide, you find that you realize your peer group's holding you back and you want to do something about it, they're not ready to let you go sometimes, because it's like anything. You don't want to lose your friends, and I understand that. I've also found that there's some element of discouragement. If you want to say, I want to branch out, I want to do things, I want to go and be an entrepreneur, and they went, oh, it's risky. That'll never work.
Or you start having a little bit of success and they're like, oh, so you're too big and too successful for us now, are you?
It's funny you say that. That actually happened. I remember I was a younger lad. I was probably still a teenager. I remember my mum and dad talking about this. So I grew up in a very working class northern England town. And it was very much everybody stay in the lane, don't branch out, just do grind through for the rest of your life. And it was that kind of mentality. And he, unfortunately for my dad and for us as well, as me and my brother and the family, we left that town and we moved and we kind of bettered ourselves, if you like. And he would go back sometimes. And it would be like he would say that his friends would be like, "Oh, we don't see much of you these days. Too good for us now, are you?"
Yeah.
And it was that sad mentality.
Yeah. So resistance, you can get resistance if you try and leave your peer group, but that resistance can hinder your success if you can't break free. Mm-hmm. So we talked about negative side of peer group, but how does a good peer group improve you?
Right.
Definitely in terms of success, the goals, we mentioned it at the top of the show, the goal should be always to hang around people that are higher achievers than you. And a good example of this is like with a football team. That's like proper football.
With a round ball.
Yeah, kicking it.
Yeah.
All right, so imagine if you played for a local football team. Mm-hmm. We're in Seattle. So say Bellevue FC. I don't know if they've got a football team, but say if it was Bellevue FC, you're the best at the club. So you're a big fish in a small pond. And then say you move to the Seattle Sounders, an MLS team where all the players are better. They've got a higher skill level.
Right.
They train for longer. They take nutrition more seriously and they take care of their bodies better with stretching and yoga and ice baths. You would adopt those habits, wouldn't you? And you would become much better.
Yeah.
And then imagine if you got called up to play for the US national team. Mm-hmm. That it would again be another level and it would improve your ability and your mindset again. And so if all of those things happened, imagine if you went back to Bellevue FC and played with them, then you would be head and shoulders better than them, not only in ability, but crucially in mentality.
Yeah.
Your
definitely.
mindset.
Yeah. It's the same can be applied for starting a business. If you want to be an entrepreneur and start a business, then you can't be hanging around with your work colleagues in 9-to-5 jobs. Really, you can maybe to a certain extent, but because you're going to get some maybe moral support, but they've got no like real life advice and lessons learned to help to coach you and things like that. So you've got to hang around. If you want to be somebody, if you want to be, for example, an entrepreneur or grow, you need to hang around with like-minded people. Like you want to hang around with entrepreneurs and not the people that are going to perhaps unwittingly hold you back.
Yeah.
Or, your work colleagues. So, and that also helps reinforce your belief, your set of beliefs as well, because when you hang around with those high achievers, these high achieving entrepreneurs, first of all, they're going to blow your mind at what they're able to achieve because it'll be so unfamiliar with you, unfamiliar to you. And you'll start to believe that yourself, and it'll inspire you. Like if he can do it, so can I.
Yeah.
And I felt that.
Definitely. Yeah. Another example is earning money. You know, it's often said that we earn between 10 and 15% of our peers.
Right.
So, you know, if you were to hang around with people that are earning more money than you, there'd be that expectation to earn more.
Right.
And that would motivate you to earn more, you know, because you'd be expected to improve that. We kind of had it with real estate entrepreneurs, didn't we? When
Definitely.
we were hanging around with these real estate entrepreneurs that were crushing it.
Yeah, that blew me away when I first heard that.
Multi-family apartment deals, and it raised our belief.
Yeah, I remember that guy. He's like, he bought 10 apartments. You bought 10 apartments? How on earth do you do that? But we got there.
Yeah. And
then some.
Yeah. And so also, I'm going to touch on this, that your peer group can also negatively affect your career path. And I'm bringing this up because it happened to me. When I first left school, I literally went and worked in a window glass factory just because my best mate was doing it.
Yeah. I remember before I left my first main job after I left college, I had this job for like 5 years, and then I remember thinking there were career professionals that had been in that same job for like 30, 40 years that were just kind of drifting into retirement. And I thought to myself, that's kind of cushy. I can kind of like just do the same. It's easy. It's a no stress life, and just kind of like get good at my job and then just stay where I am. But I didn't want that from me. I wanted more than that.
Yeah. So what are more benefits to having a good peer group? So you can get emotional support. So you need people around you that are going to support you and encourage you, as opposed to being unsupportive and discouraging. You know, for an example, you can ask yourself say if you wanted to start your own business, what would the reaction of your peers be? Would they tell you, you know, we knew it. We always knew you had the potential to do something like that. That is awesome that you're doing it. Or would they say, you know, do you realize that most businesses fail after 2 years?
Does that sound familiar?
Yeah, we're always saying this, aren't we? That in the UK, I don't know if it's still the same, but it used to be when we lived there.
Definitely used to be, yeah.
In the UK, it was always like, good luck with that.
Yeah.
Whereas in America, it was a different mindset. It was always good for you. Go for it.
Yeah, I love that about here.
Yeah.
The encouragement that you get.
Yeah.
And not only good for you, but here, let me help you.
Yeah.
I like that. And that you've got to grow. You'll grow in confidence as well when you hang around with those kind of people. You want people that will lift you up, that will help grow your self-confidence, that'll help you succeed in whatever you want to do, and point out your strengths rather than your weaknesses, because that's kind of the feedback you want, really, and empowering feedback like that. And that'll pick you up when you fall and you fail, which we inevitably do. You know, you fail your way to the top, and you want people to encourage you and tell you, that's okay, you just try again.
Yeah. You want people encouraging you. You want people that are into growing and creating more impact, because that will influence you, and it will lift your performance. You want people around you that are positive and energized. Like we've got a friend.
Yeah,
we've got a friend who's just full of energy. And we
he
always
lights
say
up
it.
the room.
Yeah, whenever we've seen him, we always say, like, isn't he great? He lifts you up.
Yeah, I love that. I love that.
T. Harv Ecker's got a whole area of one of his books where he talks about how you want to affect people, not infect people. How you want to affect them in a positive way, not infect them with a negative vibe.
We I think we all have friends in our lives to a certain extent that you come away from an hour-long conversation with them and you feel completely dread, have the life sucked out of you completely.
Yep.
And you don't want to be that person. I don't want to be. I ask myself sometimes how am I going to show up in other people's lives? I don't want to be that guy that sucks the life out of the room. Basically, you want to lift people up with positive energy rather than pull people down. So that's what I love about some of the friends that we've got now. They literally light the room up.
Yeah,
you feel great having been in their presence. Simply.
Yeah, it's not all sunshine and rainbows though. You need accountability. You need, you know, sometimes you need someone that's just going to if you promise to do something or say you're going to do something, you need someone that's going to push you to get it done.
Definitely.
Like you do that with me.
Yeah,
sometimes.
Definitely. Yeah,
I do it with you.
That's true. Well, on the subject of you, yes, you're not somebody who likes to practice what they preach sometimes, and I will tell you that we do a lot of mindset work, and we call it inner work, right? And you're even trained at that, and you've got some great lessons and great examples, but sometimes I'll have to tell you that you're not practicing it yourself. Sometimes you'll come and you'll go off the boil a little bit, and I'll tell you, and that's what we're here for.
Yeah, and likewise with you, we've got a multitude of things to do, and sometimes you'll get stuck on one thing, and I'll just remind you of the bigger picture. Yeah. We've got all these other things to do.
And I need that. Yeah. And I need to be told that.
But it's all good. It sort of works for both of us. So there's a load of things about how it can be bad if you're with the wrong peer group, and how it can be good if you're with the right peer group. But how do you improve your peer group? That's what everyone's wanting to know.
That's it.
So it can be tough, especially if it's your family.
Yeah, it is tough, actually.
I found a quote from Rod Cleef, and he says, love your family, but actively choose your peers. And that's a good one, because you do have to get out there and be active and meet people that are going to influence you in these ways.
And you can do that. There are so many ways to do it, and we have some creative ways to do that as well. But some of the more straightforward ones, you just go out, and I think once you've identified what it is you want to do in life, go to conferences or go to meetups and go to these events where like-minded people like that just hang out. And then the more and more you do that, the more you'll meet people that will help you, that you'll grow your network. We met our first business partners in real estate when we started to decide to flip houses. That's where we met them. And then you just hang around with more people like that. It just fuels that enthusiasm, and you can even create if these meetups don't exist in your area, you can actually go and we have never done that, but I know people that have, and you can create them.
Yeah. Or take a class. Like I did a couple of classes, a few online and a few in person. And then I just met a bunch of people because we had a common interest, and I was hanging around with them afterwards. And also I still know the instructor that I hang around with. And I think we got lucky because we found F3, the outside workout group. And there's something about being outside, working out at 5:30 in the morning in freezing cold or rain. There's a certain type of person.
There's a filter there.
There's a filter, and it's usually full of go-getters. Successful people. Invariably. And we've met CEOs of companies through F3, and also like deans of universities, real high achievers. So that's helped us too.
It's because it's hard. Only certain types of men stick at it. And those are the kind of men that we hang around with, and those are the kind of men that lift us up. Yeah.
And so there is another way. If you can't do any of those things, and you can't get out and meet people, then there is a way that you can hang around people. Kind of hang around.
You got
people.
A little hack.
You don't actually know these people, but if you get into a regular habit of listening to a podcast, a self-improvement podcast, say by Ed Milet or Tony Robbins or Rob Dial or somebody. And you've got a 30-minute commute. That's why you do that going in and going home. That's 1 hour a day in the company of Tony Robbins, as if he's one of your peers.
Better still, you could hang around with Pat and Chris on this podcast for an hour a day.
Better than Tony Robbins. You could listen to 1 hour a day of us. You compare that to ride sharing with your complaining coworker. What's better for your overall mindset?
Definitely.
Yeah.
You've also got to watch what you're putting on the radio and on the TV as well. We say you can hang around with these great people. Hang around, listen to the right podcasts, put the right TV channels on, because you can quite easily get sucked into consuming really negative stuff. We have had to actively kind of reduce the amount of television we watch sometimes on some channels, because it'll feed that negativity, and you've got to actively recognize that I need to shut that part out of my life, really. Like, we listen to the self-help podcasts and or YouTube channels, and you'll start to think a little bit like that, kind of on a subconscious level as well. And I've found in the past that the negativity of the news would render me, and I'm sure you as well, like angry and frustrated and a little bit paranoid because you're constantly feeding yourself with that stuff, and it goes in, whether you recognize it or not. And social media, that is orchestrated to tell you what you want to think. So you've got to be quite conscious of creating the feed of that which you consume to be enriching and uplifting.
Yeah. You're talking about paying attention to what you consume.
Exactly.
And I heard a quote. I think it was John Assaraf that said that. He said, "Your future thoughts are downstream from what you consume, because it can really affect you."
Yeah, I love that.
You've got to really pay attention to what's going in.
Yeah.
Mentors.
All right.
I talked about these a couple of times, but you can get a mentor. You can pay someone. You can have weekly calls with someone. Or you can meet someone if you get out and about like we did when we went out with our workouts. You can meet someone and just offer to go offer to buy them coffee. Go and sit with them and pick their brains.
And we did that.
Yeah, we did do that. And you know, you can shadow someone. You can do some work for them for free.
There you go.
Or help them out and create a win-win where you're learning from them and you're also helping them out.
Yeah.
And you know, most mentors actually do want to help people, don't they?
True. In fact, we started out, we would seek out mentors and go for coffee with people and learn. And now I'm finding that people want to talk to us and go have coffee with us. And I get that feeling. I get that certain fulfillment from, you know, when you recognize you help people. Our teachers must get this, that feeling that you've helped somebody there. And it does feel good.
Yeah, so in general, I think the message that we're trying to say is turn your radar on and get out there looking for people and seek people that you can add to your peer group that are aligned with your values, your interests, and your ambitions.
Right, definitely.
All right, should we sum up this episode then?
Let's do that.
Okay, so your peer group heavily influences your lifestyle, your mindset, your success, and your overall life trajectory.
Absolutely.
You pointed out that most people do not actively seek out an empowering peer group. And this can contribute to them becoming stuck and unmotivated.
It's tough. It's tough. And there are so many benefits from that. We talked about how it'll help you grow. It'll challenge you. So challenge you to push yourself. And when you hang around with people that push you, you will grow. You can't help it. They will encourage you. A good peer group will encourage you. It'll build your self-confidence and your belief in yourself, and will keep you accountable.
Yeah. And we talked about how to meet people. You can. There are online forums. There are meetups. You can try it, like we said, the hack virtually through podcasts or books.
Listen to us.
And listen to us. Mentors. Get out and get a mentor.
Yeah.
So to close out, let's go back to that Tony Robbins quote, because it was a good one. So he says, the quality of your life is a direct reflection of the expectations of your peer group.
Yeah, I love that. I have a challenge for our listeners. To ask themselves, what are your peer group's expectations of you right now? So think about the people closest to you. What are their expectations of you right now? Do they want you to stay put, or do they want you to grow?
All right, Pat, it's the after show.
After show.
Everybody's gone. No one's watching anymore. No one's listening.
2 people, maybe.
Just us. Okay, so we usually do strange thing about America.
Yeah, we do.
Today, let's do something different. Let's do misconceptions about British people.
Go on then.
Because living here, there are a lot of misconceptions, right? What's number one? Have a guess. What's number one?
It's got to be something about the beer.
We drink warm beer.
Yes, no, we don't.
We don't drink warm beer.
No. What do they think? It's like lukewarm?
Yeah.
No, it's not.
But it's not. It's cask ale.
Yeah, it's in the cellar of a pub, which is cold. It's old-fashioned cold room temperature, which is like 17, 14 degrees Celsius or whatever it was. And it's cold. Cool, say.
Yeah, but you're talking about cask ale. So when you go into a pub, there's probably, 3 or 4 pumps for that type of beer. We have a blanket statement. We call it bitter.
Right.
But then you've got all the lagers in there. They're all they're all cold.
Oh, no,
really
yeah,
cold.
lager's cold. That's true,
Like
actually, yeah.
fridge cold.
Yeah.
Fridge cold.
Yeah, there you go.
But
Not quite as-
not quite like America where it's freezer cold.
Like literally drink it out of a glass that is a block of ice cold. Yeah.
That welds to your hand.
Yeah, and leaves, as it melts, leaves puddles of water all over the table. No, it's not.
Or out of one of those aluminium, not aluminum, aluminium
Well said, yeah.
bottles that
Welds itself to your
take a layer of
lips.
skin off your lips. Here's
Yeah.
another one. Here's
not
another
warm.
misconception. We don't say bloke to each other. Like people will come up to
We
like,
say bloke, but not.
well, yeah,
the way
bloke's
it's
a
used.
weird one. Bloke is a third person thing, isn't it? It's like, oh yeah, there was that bloke over there, or this bloke said to me.
Yeah.
But people come up to me all the time and say, hello, bloke.
This is so weird. That's like saying, what would be the equivalent? It's like saying, hello, guy.
Yeah, it's exactly that because they say
It's not the same, is
a
it?
guy over there, but you don't address someone as guy, do you?
No.
So bloke is guy,
Yeah, I guess so.
and man, hello man, is
Hey,
mate.
dude. Mate.
Mate.
Yeah, so we'll say hello, mate.
Yeah,
Hey,
all right,
man.
mate. One of my mates. All right,
Yeah,
mate.
Not hello, bloke. All right, bloke. No, it
No,
doesn't
you
work.
say hello, mate.
Yeah.
So man is mate.
Yeah.
Bloke
He's guy.
is guy.
I guess. There you go.
Yeah.
I've never actually really thought of it that much.
There's a guy at work and he always says to me, hello, what? In a British accent. And I always say,
In his fake British accent.
no one's ever said that in the history of Britain.
We don't talk like that. What? No.
And the other word is, they say wanker, don't they?
Oh, God, yes. But they say it in a way that it's jovial and it's not a term of endearment, but it's like they're trying to be all like friendly and, hey, wanker.
It's
And-
a
and I'm
bad
like,
word for us.
It's
but
cringeworthy. It's like they don't get it.
People say it in the office. I always say, like, you would never
Hey.
get away with that in Britain.
Hey, Pat, you wanker. Yeah, you probably don't really mean that.
Yeah. And another thing is, I think Americans think that because we're English, they don't say British, do they? They say English. They just think we've all got the same English accent, but we have so many different accents.
Oh, God, yeah.
And I don't think they appreciate it in America.
It's very accent rich in the UK, especially. I grew up in the north of England, and it's each town, so Manchester and Liverpool are like 40, 50 miles apart, and they've got massively different accents. The small towns in between and all around, they've all got their own unique accents. And my dad and his sister, my aunt, can pinpoint what town you're from in the north of England from the accent, and it's incredible.
Yeah, and you mention it to Americans, and they say, yeah, but we've got a southern accents, and we've got a New York accent, but
Like 1,000 miles apart.
yeah, there's not that many. Like Denver and Seattle,
Yeah.
I don't know how far apart that is.
I can't tell the difference.
1,800 miles. It's the same.
I can't tell it. And the whole West Coast, I can't tell the difference between the accents. Maybe there is an
SoCal.
LA kind of California accent.
Yeah, but
maybe.
compared to Britain, when it's each town, like Birmingham's very different from Liverpool, Manchester, and
yeah.
Newcastle's
It's almost-
completely unique.
It's almost unrecognizable.
Yeah. So, what about a misconception about American people? I don't think it's a misconception, but I do want to say that they're very open and very friendly in general.
Oh yeah, that was what struck me the most.
Except maybe New Yorkers.
So,
My
certainly-
brother lives in New York, so
Yeah,
I've been
well,
exposed to it a bit.
Yeah, you know that for sure. Yeah, the West Coast for sure. In fact, pretty much everywhere I've been in the States are super friendly, open. Strangers in the street will say hello, and they're all super friendly in the supermarkets and things like that, and confident.
Yeah,
as well.
We're-
I've noticed
we're,
that.
We're not only are we
We're a bit more reserved, aren't we?
we're reserved,
Yeah.
but we're shy, aren't we? Whereas Americans aren't they? They're very confident.
Going to school, I used to hate getting called up in class to even if it was just to answer a question or just to speak in front of more than like 4 people. It was scary. And I see kids that are like 10 or 12 years old they've got this self-confidence that I didn't ever get till I was like 30. And I'm like, it's so admirable that I don't know what they're teaching them, but they've got so much more self-confidence about them, so self-assured that these American kids are.
Yeah, my dad raves about the American kids because they call him sir. And I don't
Yeah, there's respect as well.
I don't think that would really happen in Britain. Maybe.
There's even I'll be in work, and there's a guy who I actually look up to. He's a doctor, and I'll ask a question, or he'll ask me a question, and I'll answer it, and it's right, isn't it? He'll say yes, sir. And it's almost instinctive, but I'm like, you called me sir, but yeah, he's like a doctor.
Yeah.
It's kind of striking because we don't hear that much in the. I never heard that much in the UK.
No,
really.
Okay, so we don't drink warm beer. We don't call each other bloke.
We say wanker when we really mean it.
Yeah, but we don't say it in the office.
No, we don't. No.
And we've all got dodgy accents, and
Mm-hmm.
Americans are very confident, and we respect them for that.
And we do indeed. Thanks for tuning in. If you like what you heard, please like and subscribe so you never miss another episode. Also, check out our social media content for more ways to avoid being middle-aged and miserable.